Good evening. Welcome to PoliticIt. We've got Jason Walton with us today. Nice to have you back, Jason. Yeah, this has been a long haul.
It has been, and thanks for having me. I feel right at home here.
I was sick to hear about your mother.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, my mother, Trudy Walton, is her name, and she's as fantastic of a woman and as a mother as anyone could ever hope for. Just one of the true great people here in Utah, and she passed away Monday. It was very unexpected, and I miss her deeply. It's been a hard week.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah,
I bet it has.
I'm grateful for her, though. I mean, I think that everybody should, if your mom's nearby and she's still around, grab her and give her a big hug, and tell her you love her and why, because it's a tough thing when they're gone.
Yeah,
you can't do that anymore.
Well, it was nice you had her at convention with you.
Yeah.
I remember meeting her.
Yeah, she's actually really been a big supporter. She's been very excited about about me running for the United States Senate, and it's also, she's also been very much hoping that I win.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So let's just talk a little bit about this whole journey.
Yeah.
Right. What have been some highlights to you so far?
Oh, the people. So I loved going through the caucus process, doing town halls and listening to people, because remember, I ran originally because I was very, very concerned. I didn't like supporting any of the candidates that were running, especially the three that I'm with that are still in the race now.
Right.
And I don't mean that as a personal dig. I just didn't want them to be the U.S. senator.
Yeah.
And it made me get up off the couch. We here in Utah have thought we were electing one thing for different offices and found out we got something else. And I really felt that that politicians were literally just enriching themselves financially and politically. Now, since I've been running, the big thing is I found out that I'm exactly right. That is actually what's going on for most career politicians. But the great surprise was to find out how many people felt the same way that I did.
Right.
And that's what I found in the caucus, going through the convention process, is people see through the duplicity and the hypocrisy of a lot of these career politicians that they're only trying to take care of themselves. And so that literally once they get elected, all they care about is the next election and not so much about the country. And that ends up resulting in big spending bills. Because if you're trying to stay in office, then you're going to have the Senate leadership or the House leadership trying to withhold or give you leader fund money depending on how you're voting. And if you're not voting along with them, then it's really hard to stay in office.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's been interesting. I always knew that the money controlled things and that people were corrupted, but seeing how deep it is and how constant that is has been surprising. And then conversely, it's been like therapeutic to be able to work with and have meetings with all the great people of Utah as they've expressed the same concerns that I have.
Right. Yeah, I've always thought that was an important thing with the caucus system, right? 4,000 people showed up at, around 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And stayed till after midnight.
Unbelievable.
And I personally find that they're pretty engaged.
Yeah, it's patriotism. I mean, that was such a humbling thing, being after midnight and you still have a full house. That's people who love their country. I mean, really, really love their country and are sacrificing great personal sacrifices because they understand how powerful the last check on power is. And that last check on power is our right to vote. And it is, again, so therapeutic to see so many patriots who love the Constitution, love their country, and are doing everything they can to try to protect it and set the ship right. Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I went to quite a few of the events. Of course, I'm up for re-election, but the events I went to where you were there, you always attract a pretty big crowd.
Well, thanks. I mean, again, it was so fun. I really appreciate I want to say thank you to everyone who so far has come to any of our events and has voiced your opinion, and even the disagreements. When people will disagree, they do it because they love their country.
Right.
And so there's something to be learned. Democracy was always was meant to be messy. So disagreeing is part of the process. The question is can you do it respectfully?
Yeah.
And I've very much felt that the delegates and everyone involved, whether we were agreeing or disagreeing, they did it respectfully, and you could just feel their love of country, that patriotism. It's just been an honor, an absolute honor to be part of this process.
Yeah, very good. So any other thoughts you have? I mean, you've traveled the state. You've gone everywhere.
It's beautiful. So it's sometimes we might start the day in Blanding down and then maybe you're in Emery County in the afternoon, and then find yourself in Iron County at Cedar City in the evening. And people would say, "Are you tired of all that driving?" I'm like, "Have you ever driven that, to Monticello and then to Emery and then to Cedar City? I could do that every day." It's just gorgeous. We have an amazing state. It's too bad we don't own more of it. And I think that one of the things that I've noticed from talking with, there's a couple things that I've known from talking with delegates where they're concerned about the country. One of them is just the whole lands issue.
Right.
So I say to people, I say that like it's the eastern states. Every state obviously had an enabling act, and in the enabling act, the federal government was supposed to sell land back to the states.
Right.
And they did that in the east until they hit Colorado, right? And then they just stopped, and then they passed FLTMA in 1976. And they basically, in FLTMA, said, "Sorry, we're actually not going to sell your land back. Instead, we're going to issue these payments, PILT payments, payment in lieu of taxes," which I like call them pennies on the millions or trillions.
Yeah.
Because it's nothing. So it just seems hypocritical that almost all the states that are east of Colorado, there's very few where the federal government owns even 7%. 7.
Yeah.
New York, Maine, Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas. Those are all states where the federal government owns less than 2% of the states. And so I don't know how people can look straight-faced and say they think it's fair and it's a good idea that the federal government should own 65% of Utah. I mean, I'm not talking about giving back like the Arches National Park and
Right.
Canyonlands. I'm talking about it's just ridiculous that things would be treated so differently. And so here's something I think that I would put out to the people of Utah. You realize our taxes rate here, our real tax rate in Utah is really high.
Yeah.
Like it's unbelievable.
Well, and we like to we like to praise ourselves in the legislature because we get these awards for best managed state
Yep.
and everything else, but and we try to cut taxes every year.
Yes.
But we're still paying more taxes than almost anybody.
We are. I think we're the real thing is about 11th worst. And all the states above us are blue. They're Democrat states. But we don't talk about the source of the problem. So the reason why the federal government was supposed to give us our land back was because, and it even says it in the Enabling Act, it says it's so that we could have money, property taxes, to fund schools.
Right.
To fund schools. And so when here we are, when the federal government owns 65% of your land, then you are missing out on those property taxes. And it hurts Utahns. It hurts Utah's kids. It's a bad thing for Utah. And that's why if you look at Senator Mike Lee's More PILT Act, it's a great idea. He's asking the Secretary of the Interior to basically go reappraise all of Utah's land. And then, of course, it's going to be appraised at a much higher value. And those PILT payments would go astronomically high. And it's not, I don't think Senator Lee, I won't speak for him, but I think he would agree with me that we don't actually want the PILT payments. We want the land. Yeah. So just settle by giving us land that we can then be wise stewards of that land. It's also I'm from down in the Bears Ears area of San Juan County, so it's a little hard.
Is that where you grew up?
Yeah. My family's a fifth generation from there. So my great-great-grandfather was one of the original.
So you're our rural candidate.
Yeah. No, I mean, my grandfather was the mayor of Monticello and the county commissioner, and so we've been around it's one of the 6 founding families of Monticello.
Wow.
And in fact, my great grandfather, just a side note, was actually 11, 12-year-old boy being lowered over the cliffs in the Hole in the Rock expedition.
Oh, really?
Doing the blasting at the Hole in the Rock, which is now like the Lake Powell area.
Right.
But yeah, I think that that if we could get some of Utah's land back, a lot of land back. Now, when I say this on social media, I get the left really comes at me.
Oh yeah,
and they say you're trying to make all your friends who are your oil friends and real estate friends money. I don't have real estate friends or oil friends. I'm just trying to save the state of Utah.
Right. Yeah, I think that's funny how things get twisted like that.
Yeah.
Biden and the Democrats, I swear they've gone so far left. They've left our families. They've left our kids. They've left They've left sanity.
Yeah, they've left the border wide open.
Yeah.
In a way that's grossly negligent. So,
yeah. Well, you traveled down there, right, to the border?
Yeah, I did, and it was deeply disturbing what we saw. That literally this whole all Biden needs to do is end the catch and release and implement stay in Mexico. That's it. Right. Just do that, and then we can work on.
Yeah. Now he's coming out with this thing, blaming it on Congress.
Oh,
right?
it's ridiculous.
When we know it's him.
We absolutely know that it's him. Yeah. So for him to say that that he can't do it. And then try to pass. He's literally trying to hold us hostage with his legislation. It's like he's saying, "Oh, you want to secure the border? How much do you want it? Here's a bill for $113 billion. Where I can funnel money to other nations to secure their borders, or to. There's a lot of cronyism in that spending of the earmarks that go to different states. It's just ridiculous. And I think unconstitutional, but. It feels so disingenuous to hold us, say $113 billion, you won't do it for that? How about $60 billion?
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, why don't you just end catch and release and implement stay in Mexico?
Yeah. You can do that with your pen.
You can do that this afternoon.
Right.
And all Americans, this shouldn't be bipartisan. All Americans should demand that happens tomorrow. The fact that he isn't doing it's one of the reasons why Trump 45 is going to become 47. Because the people can see through this nonsense that literally he is clearly, and the Democrats are trying to have more illegal immigrants because they believe it's going to translate to votes for them.
Yeah.
That's it. And so the fact that there's record fentanyl, meth, and heroin being trafficked in, I mean record by a lot. Fentanyl is now, overdose, is the number one leading cause of death for people between the ages of 18 and 45. So the fact that he won't pick up the pen and help put an end to that, he can do it right now, saving lives.
Yeah.
But won't. Right. And then when the Border Patrol agents are gone, and I saw this firsthand because in the Tucson sector, there's 3,000 illegal immigrants per day that come across. So they then have to be taken to be processed in Tucson. That's a 2.5 hour drive, 2 to 2.5 hours. So all the Border Patrol agents are gone. And that's why the border's wide open for the drug traffickers, but also for people who are on the terror watch list.
Right.
Just where we started this conversation. The door's wide open and they can just come in. And I don't know about you, but I find that alarming.
Yeah, it is. It's very disturbing.
Very disturbing.
Hey, we're going to take a break and we'll come back.
Great.
Thank you.
I'm Jason Walton. You probably don't know me. I'm not a politician. I'm a businessman. My wife, Kristen, and I started a business out of our garage and built it into a national company without any outside investors or debt. And we've spent the last 25 years fighting the corruption that's inherent with big government and career politicians. And I'm deeply concerned about the future of America. So I've decided to take a stand. Our national security is a serious problem. We need to secure the borders now, not tomorrow. And as for the economy, if we don't reduce spending quickly, we're going to be crushed by inflation and debt. There are too many career politicians who are enriching themselves rather than being true public servants. I'm running for the United States Senate to restore the Constitution, to purge corruption, to reduce spending, and to protect our homes and our families by securing the border. And I invite all Utahns to come and stand with me.
Welcome back to PoliticIt. Of course, we're here with Jason Walton. Nice ad.
Oh, thank you.
I think I think this idea of mentoring people. You've spent a lot of your career doing that, haven't you?
Yeah, I've mentored thousands of Utahns, and it's for 25 years straight here in Utah, and it's really been an honor and a privilege. First, it's fun to mentor people in pursuit of their American dream, and secondly, our young people are underestimated. I hear too often. In fact, they're going to be the ones that save us, John. They're going to be the ones that save us.
Right.
I hear people say too much, oh, this next generation. No, they're really smart. They know technology way better than we do. They were born into it.
Right.
They know the ways of the world. And the other thing that I've noticed with them, because I work with them very closely right now, over 1,000 just right now, and that is they're realizing the garbage that we've been feeding them. I mean, they know that $34 trillion in debt is a big
insane
problem, and they understand that Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, that's not sustainable through their journey. They're not even expecting to be able to receive Social Security. And it causes them anxiety that we won't honestly address it. And of course, it isn't addressed because career politicians just won't do it because it's not going to help them get elected the next time. So they're not going to want to solve the problem. But the other thing that the young people are really good at, what they're realizing, is this wokeness that's been going on. They know what a man and a woman is, and they're trying to figure out why their parents and grandparents were so crazy to allow us to get to where we are now.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you,
that's been an issue that I've been really concerned with. I mean, we need to take back our universities.
Oh, we do. And I think that the charge is actually going to be led by the people who are in universities now. I think it'll be led over the next 10 to 15 years as they're waking up. And I'm seeing it happen with the people that work with me, of them waking up and saying, wait a minute, you guys have been feeding us a whole line of malarkey. So
Right.
XY, that's a man, and XX,
Right.
that's a woman.
Right.
And here are the pronouns that work for the English language. Let's not mutilate kids. Hormone blockers, not a good idea. Restrooms, let's put the men, let's protect women's spaces. I mean, it's still like mind-boggling to me that a 6'4" man is allowed to compete in women's college sports. And when the females complain, the university makes the females go get counseling.
I know. Riley Gaines was here.
Yeah.
Came and talked to the Senate, and it was amazing what she said.
Yeah.
In terms of the way she was treated. As probably one of the best women's swimmers in a long time, right?
Yeah. She's a and she give her credit for standing up and speaking out when everyone was trying to cancel her. We could all use a little bit more of people who are willing to stand up and do the right thing just because it's the right thing to do. That's the thing that we don't see in politics virtually ever. People are only doing the thing that's the politically expedient thing to do.
It's a hard path because they're, you talk about the council culture. Well, there's a council culture with respect to that.
Yeah.
Of doing the right thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the look, if you want a candidate that's a political outsider, that literally is, I'm just trying to stand up to save America, save the Constitution, save conservative constitutional governance, balance the budget. I'd love to get a balanced budget amendment, get inflation under control, which is, it's so foreseeable, by the way, when it gets to inflation. But anyway, I'm your person for that. I don't know how often it is that somebody literally runs just because they were really frustrated with what they were seeing and has no sense of political self-preservation. But I want to go do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And so I'm hoping that message continues to resonate the way I feel it has, and that Utahns will elect me as their next senator.
Yeah. It's amazing to me, and and I'm sure you feel some of this criticism. Well, that guy's got so much money, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you were handed a silver spoon when you were a kid, and it's simply not true.
No, I mean, like I grew up mainly living in my grandparents' basement with my aunt and uncle and their 4 kids, and my family with our 4 kids and my grandparents. And this is a 2,100 square foot home. And so I didn't have parental scholarships to college. So my wife and I literally started our business in our garage. That's where people came to work in the morning.
Right.
We funded it ourselves from working hard and through just good, provident living. We've been blessed, and we built it into one of the largest pest control companies in the United States, but there was nothing handed to us by anyone. And in large part, running for the Senate, at least in my way, is a way of giving back.
Right.
But to the extent, if you want a common person who lived the American dream and then mentors literally hundreds, if not thousands,
to live that same dream.
To live that same dream, a dream that's under attack by career politicians and by DC.
Because at some point, you talked about the tax burden. At some point, we, like Margaret Thatcher says, we run out of other people's money, right?
Do you know what the great hidden tax is that we're not talking about enough? Inflation.
Oh, yeah.
Inflation. So I believe since 2021, gasoline is up, I think, over 50%. Electricity, I think, is up over 30%. And this basket of goods is now to the point where from, I think, 2020 or 2021, the average household has to spend $11,000 per year more for the same basket of goods
that they had before.
That's no different than actually paying $11,000 more in taxes. It has the exact same effect. And this is just crushing to the lower and middle class people of Utah, especially where our tax rate's so high. It's crushing.
Well, and senior citizens who are living on a fixed income that they saved all their life for.
Yeah.
Right. And now all of a sudden, yeah, we're not raising taxes on seniors, right? Nobody would do that. But this inflationary spending, I mean, inflation's caused by printing money.
Yeah, that's it.
Plain and simple, right?
Well said. I was going to say it if you didn't. The fact that it's interesting that the left will still try to say, by the way, anyone, to the camera, anyone who tells you differently is lying or grossly ignorant. It's one or the other. So that, like, if you start printing money, you're going to see a proportional increase in inflation. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's also not a good idea to start going into debt and running up $34 trillion of debt.
Yeah, because at some time, if you can't sell the bonds, the Fed buys them, right?
Yeah, and then the interest rates also go up on those bonds, and that's all.
Right.
It just the whole thing starts snowballing.
Yeah.
But you hit the nail right on the head. We really started messing up when we started printing money. Left
You know,
and right.
we did a study where we looked at, because people in Utah are screaming about affordable housing, right? We did a study where we looked at the median home, and we priced it in terms of the number of ounces of gold that you needed to have in order to buy a home.
Sounds reasonable.
From the 60s.
Yep.
And then you look today, and actually the price of housing hasn't gone up.
Yeah.
Right? Our dollars are just worth less.
Our dollars are worth less. You're exactly right.
And the last 4 years under Biden, it's worse than it's been for a long time.
Oh yeah. No, I think when we saw in 2022, I think the inflation rate was like 8.5%. I think that's the highest in like 40 years. So yeah, that is a long time.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. It's interesting how you mentioned leadership. It's interesting how leadership makes a difference. You look at Newt Gingrich and the contract with America. Mm-hmm. This was while Clinton was president. That's the last time we balanced our budget.
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
We need to do better.
Which proves that it can be done, right?
It absolutely can be done. When I get into the Senate, that's actually my number one priority. That's like my do or die, is to balance the budget. And again, career politicians are unwilling to cut spending. And I'm going to say this. When you hear a politician say, hey, these new guys that haven't run before, they don't know how to get things done, what exactly are you calling getting things done?
Yeah.
If you're bragging about passing legislation, let's be real about what's actually happening then. You want to please your constituents by passing legislation. There's a lot of legislation I actually want to repeal.
Right.
But okay, so for you to pass that legislation, then you're going and telling all these other senators that if they vote for yours, you'll vote for theirs. What's the result of that? More increased spending. Then other people say, put these earmarks in the bill. What's the result of that? More increased spending. Near as I can tell, career politicians, when they talk about getting things done, they're talking about spending. They can't not do it. They're chronic spenders. They're addicted to it, and if it is literally the definition of insanity to do the same thing over and over and over and expect a different result. So if right now the people of Utah want to elect another career politician, and they think it's going to resolve the problems like the $34 trillion in debt that were caused by career politicians, then I think that's unwise.
Yeah. Well, Jason, we're out of time.
Yeah.
Why don't you just look in that camera and make a pitch?
First of all, thanks for having me. I love the state of Utah. It's been an honor and a privilege to run for this United States Senate seat. I love the Constitution, and I want to remind you to please go read George Washington's farewell address. And in it, he encouraged all of us in the, quote, sacred maintenance of the Constitution with wisdom and virtue. And I would put it to you to say that we have not sacredly maintained the Constitution, a document that I believe was divinely inspired. Therefore, I think it's been blasphemously maintained. And if all of us would just take a little time to start reading the Constitution, discussing it with our families as individuals, and then say, do what I did. It's time to get up off the couch and take action if we want to preserve if we want to preserve liberty, freedom, and the American dream.
Thanks. Jason Walton, candidate for U.S. Senate.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Had a lot of fun.
Okay. See ya.
Yeah.